What is up, everyone? Hope you're having a good day. We are continuing work on these speaker boxes that I started in the last video. When we last left off, we had most of the box put together. We just have the front baffle not attached yet. Got a couple of pieces of wood that I used on an older project, and I'm gonna see if I can use the rest of it to make the front face for this. But it's definitely gonna be a lot more ambitious than the other speaker boxes I've made in the past. So I'm going to copy this front template one more time. We're cutting out what I need from here with the jigsaw, and I'll go to the router and just trim off the edges to make them flush. So now, since we did that, we've got a perfect copy of the outer shape of the template. Now we know exactly where the speaker hole is. We need to know where the grill is going to be. So I'm going to trace that out too. We can only cut so much out of this template before we start losing the ability to install any magnets to it. So we're going to leave at least an inch on all sides here. So with that being done, now we have the areas that we cannot cut, and then we have the area in here which needs to be removed. I'm going to use the template and go ahead and cut out this shape, and then we're going to break out the big boy. We're going to make this hole bigger, and it should be big enough for that speaker grill. When I'm done with that, then I'll figure out what I'm going to do with this other side. So I'm going to leave the template attached while I do this, just so there's a little bit more wood for this bearing to ride on. After I do the first pass, I'm going to take the template off and then use the flush trim bit to route out the rest of that shape. So I've got a rough shape drawn out for this area that I want to cut holes in. I'm going to use some scraps and attach it to this template. I'll just do one section at a time until I get the whole shape cut out. The next thing we'll be doing, it's called a glue up. I'm going to cut a bunch of small pieces of wood and I'll glue them in certain arrangements. So I've got these two pieces of wood. This one is oak and this one is poplar. I'm going to cut down into 1-inch strips. So I've got these parallel clamps. We're gonna put all the pieces on here just like this. Get a little bit of glue and glue these together. So I made a mistake here. It's been a long time since I've done one of these. What the plan was to have each of these squares alternating. So basically it would look like this. like a checkerboard. But I have the same piece of wood on both ends, so these pieces at the end are going to be cut off completely. So this is what we've got so far. I've got all those pieces cut into 1-inch squares. Got them all glued up together. Got these other pieces right here. I worked on them mostly off camera. So this piece right here, I know for sure is gonna go in the middle. 2 of the poplar pieces, these are gonna go on the sides. And then I'm gonna find a way to work these squares into these sections right here. During the gluing process, a lot of these squares were not level with each other. So the next thing we have to do is flatten all this out. Now, there are a couple ways you can do it. You can build a routing sled. So you'll attach a router to it and have a couple rails and slide it back and forth to flatten it out. You can buy a planer, but I honestly don't want to spend $300 or $400 on something that I won't use that much. I made this router shield a long time ago so I could cut things real close and keep my fingers out of harm's way. But now I'm going to attempt to use it as a way to plane or flatten the wood. Had a few scrap pieces of wood. They were cut to the same width, so it's pretty flat. But before I put the pieces on there that I spent so much time on, I'm going to use a scrap piece of wood, and I'm going to try to flatten this out just to see how well it goes. I think plywood probably isn't the best thing to try. I have some wood that was glued together from a Lazy Susan that I made a while ago. I'm going to stick that on here and see how that works. There's still some areas that could use some work, so we're gonna try this one out and see how it turns out. There might be a couple spots I can take down with a little bit of sandpaper so we can get that main piece on there, and we'll see how this works out with that. Got the template that we made. I'm gonna try my best to center this spot in the middle. Everything here, here, here. This will all get trimmed off, and everything around the edges as well. Of course, something like this happens when I'm not recording. Had an incident while I was routing. I guess I didn't have the piece pressed down enough, and it caught it and just broke these 2 pieces off. So trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with it. I worked on this mostly off camera just because I was frustrated with it, but I cut out a few pieces right here. Basically flatten this out. I took the scrap from the hole that I cut earlier. Ended up taking this piece out. Cut it pretty clean around there. So I'm gonna get some glue this back together, and then I'll put the template back on there so I can cut it out and hope that we don't have any issues like that again. So it's all glued in place. It turned out pretty good. I'm gonna cut close to this line, and I'm actually gonna use a different flush trim bit because the one I'm using might be the reason that it broke in the first place. So as much as I wanted this to be a perfect project, things never actually go perfectly. There's a spot right here on the side. When I was using the chamfer bit, it actually took a chunk right out of here when it was chipping out. But I think I'm probably just gonna leave that how it is, just as a reminder not to do that anymore. But I've just got one more cut I'm gonna make, like just the slightest chamfer around all these areas right here. Well, change of plans. I actually found the piece that chipped off from here. So I'm gonna try to glue that back on and then try to do the router work again. So I did pretty good with this repair over here. Might just need to sand it down just a little bit, but you can't even really tell the difference with it. So I meant to have this project done in this video, but I ran into a few issues. I just wanted to show those issues get resolved, so if you run into those same problems, then you would know what to do, or at least have an idea of one way to fix it. But my next video will be the last one for these speaker boxes. First, I'm gonna figure out how to get the LEDs installed. They'll be installed in these front face panels. I just need to run the wires through the box to get to it. After that, then I'll stain the boxes, stain the front face, run some wires in the garage, and then get them mounted up on the wall. And then we'll be able to start on the next project. But if you have any comments or suggestions, just leave it below. But you can also check out the playlists of the other work that I've done. Just visit my channel and then you can see all the videos for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.